One of the things about being me is that I'm Canadian, and that when I comment on things that happen in the US, I can do it from the perspective of an outsider. I'm not in as a part of the mix. I'm standing outside of it, an outsider looking in, and I can be more objective than someone on the right or the left or a liberal or a conservative inside the United States. And that gives me a certain vision that neither of those groups has. And by no means am I the only one, nor does this mean that my word is law. But as the neighbor of the United States, as a Canadian, as the neighbor, the closest trading partner, and the people who are most culturally similar to the United States, I think I can gain some certain insights. We've always kind of looked at you as this, like, the older brother that was always constantly getting in trouble, but somehow always managed to get away with it and frequently benefit from it as well. And we would always sit back, cluck our tongues, and say, "Well, you shouldn't be doing that, and we're not going to be, we're not like you, and you should be better. And by the way, you should call Mom; she worries about you." Kind of little brother. That is not to say we haven't been grease masters ourselves. During the Vietnam War, throughout the entire conflict, Canada was very happy for us to wag our fingers at you and to give this whole moral superiority because we didn't go to the war. But of course, that never stopped us from massively profiting off of it. A lot of the materials used in the Vietnam War were manufactured in Canada, not just because it was cheaper, because it was out of the reach of most U.S. protesters as well. We made your dynamite, we made your radios, some of the fuel that was used for vehicles, even the manufacture of some of those vehicles. There's a whole big history of Canadian manufacturing helping the U.S. war machine and making us complete and total friggin' hypocrites at the same time. But that is not to whitewash the history of Canada being a junior partner of imperialism, particularly with regards to Afghanistan. And if you look up the history of Canada in regards to international mining, you will find that Canada has a worse human rights record in terms of mining internationally than anyone else in the world. We are literally worse than the United States in that regard. So you can understand why we've got a hand in Afghanistan. Much of the I believe it was 3 trillion in minerals that are lying underneath the soil that have not been dug up yet. But this is certain clarity and kind of moral superiority by creating a false distance from ourselves, from you, does give us a certain insight. Now, I was blown away when Trump won the election. And yes, he actually did win fair and square. Sort of. I'm just saying that I don't see any reason to believe that Russia interfered in the election given all of the evidence that has come out since then. He won. He's not exactly a fair guy, but, you know, he did win without the assistance of Russia, and I certainly do believe that. If I've noticed one thing since Trump's election, not only was I blown away by the fact that it happened, but the utter disaster that his presidency has been. Now, we all know that the bourgeoisie have their own interests, and then whether you vote Democrat or you vote Republican, the bourgeoisie are going to win. And this is the same thing here. Whether you vote whether you vote liberal or you vote conservative or NDP or Bloc Québécois or even the Green Party, in the end, the system remains capitalism, and the capitalists are going to win no matter what. Now, the NDP and the Green Party can claim that they're going to accomplish whatever it is that they think they could accomplish on a federal level. We know it's not going to happen. Capitalism is as capitalism does. But I digress. Trump has been such a unique figure in U.S. political history. There has never been anyone like him. And I don't think you'd find anyone who would disagree. There has never been anyone like him who's been president, or even a governor, or even any really political position. Never before has someone who was so anti-political been in a political position. I think it's entirely fair to look at Trump and realize that he has no idea what he's doing. His presidency has been one screw-up after another. Here's a perfect example just recently. He said he could win the Afghan war in 10 days, but he doesn't want to kill 10 million people. Essentially what he's saying is that he wants to nuclear bomb the country. Well, I guess if you just murder everybody in the country, they can't rebel against you. I mean, I guess that would work if you're a complete psychopath, or someone who has or maybe someone who is a sociopath. And I would bet my bottom dollar Trump is a sociopath. Someone who's incapable of empathizing with the suffering of anybody. I doubt he could empathize with the suffering of his own children. But again, that's just a claim I'm making. And this has been his policy. This has been Trump's whole presidency. Not caring. Doing whatever he wants, regardless of how many people it's going to hurt. Now, we can understand that to a large degree. That's bourgeois politics. They'll do whatever bourgeois democracy, they'll do whatever they want in order to benefit themselves. But Trump has taken this to a new level. Part of the rhetoric out of the Democratic Party was doing certain things that were even very harmful under certain justifications. For example, the Affordable Care Act, Obamacare, was something that was done that would really help the American people. But it was nowhere near what people actually need. This was a money grab. Not necessarily by the government, but by many insurance companies. This was something that was cooked up to make it look progressive, but something that was just another ploy to make money. Now you have to get insurance. You have to go to the insurance companies. Okay, insurance companies, we'll put a little bit of a cap on how much you can charge, but people have to go to you now. So that's a bit of a fair trade-off. This is a far cry from what is actually needed, a universal healthcare system. And that's what's made all of this. And that's one prime example. And even the Republican Party destroys the lives of their own base in ways that are unfathomable to the rest of us in the world. But there's always the pretext for it. It's for freedom. We have to stop people from being able to see a doctor because it's conservatives for patients' rights. By the way, look up that organization. It's defunct now, but it's a pretty interesting history lesson in propaganda. Like that person of questionable moral character, Rick Scott. If you're in the U.S., you probably know who that is. But this Trump has done things that are the inhumane things that Republicans do, but not even an iota of cover. Now, he did that during the election. Oh, we're going to get rid of the regulations on coal so we can get people back to work. The idea that Trump gives one iota of a care about anybody is laughable. I mean, this is just about... This is the thing. You could tell working class people, oh yeah, you've been screwed over the last couple of whiles. It's all the black Obama guy's fault. And if we just get rid of that regulation, hey, man, you know, we're going to get all your jobs back. But at the same time, it's sending a message to the energy lobby, hey, yeah, we're going to make you rich again. We're going to get rid of all those regulations that allow the planet to exist. So you can always see that kind of doublespeak. But since being elected, Trump hasn't even bothered with that. That doesn't even exist. He will just do insanely inhumane things and not even try. And that's the thing that has been so mind-boggling to us in the rest of the world. The insanity of it. He doesn't even pretend. Obama pretended to care. He came out with a very solid, professional demeanor, well-spoken, came out like a gentleman and a professional, and gave you that whole flavor that everything was going to be okay. And that this is what an upstanding man does. I mean, he was much of an inhuman monster as any U.S. president has ever been. But he's done it with, let's say, a kind of swagger. And that's what gave him credibility. Because he was able to do it and put on this air of professionalism, refined, intellectual, stoic nature. Well, there is no illusion with that with Trump. Trump just says, oh my God, bad people, we have to be free, get rid of them, oh my God, etc. With the vocabulary of a kid in grade 6. Or 6th grade, as Americans say. And it's mind-boggling to watch all this. It's unfathomable for us outside the United States to see this and see the deliberate lies. But they're lies without even trying. The man has no poise, no self-control, no... It's like, you know that voice in your head that says, oh man, I wouldn't do that shit if I was you? It doesn't exist. Asking a woman who just said that her mother, father, and 6 brothers were killed. Oh, where are they now? They're dead. Just said that. And that completely... It's not even a matter of class, but like internal dignity, or even common sense. A lot of people have suggested that maybe Trump is autistic, and maybe that there's a degree of autism that he does have, which makes him unable to understand how other people perceive him. And I could see that as possibly being true. But I don't think so. I think Trump is probably closer to being a sociopath. And this, because people who are really, really autistic don't understand that sometimes don't understand that they're being attacked. And then they don't react because they don't know. But he is so petty over the smallest things, and deliberately goes out and tries to destroy things that Obama does, just because Obama showed him up. So I think it would be closer to say that given everything Trump has done, that he might very well be a sociopath, in my opinion. And if there's one thing that I've been looking at these years that he's been president, is how far can you push the American people? I mean, that's even one of the questions of third worldism. Because of the marginally comfortable lives that first world people have, the vast majority are completely well off to the point where they see no reason to take an armed rebellion against the government. And that's kind of our point. Because they benefit from imperialism, they have no desire to overthrow the system. One of which is, where's the threshold? How far can you push the American people before they will do it? And one of the things that we have seen over the last couple of years is Trump almost basically spit on the country, spit on the working class, trash them constantly, destroy their lives, poison their air, make them lose their homes, kill the economy, endless trade wars that don't benefit, God, sometimes don't even benefit anybody, just because he wants to be the guy who made somebody concede for his own ego. And sociopaths do tend to be egomaniacs. Well, where's the point that the American people are going to do something? And every time he goes further, tells somebody to go back to where they came from, saying overtly racist things, destroying people's livelihoods, and his base, that significant number, and it is a significant number, cheer him on every time. Every liberal will decry all the stuff that he's doing, say that it's wrong, etc. But the people on his side keep cheering him on. And an interesting documentary I did watch that somebody sent to me was talking to Trump supporters and why they support the man the way they do. And they say, because he's like us. He says the things that we say, and he's not afraid to say them. So despite the fact that he is literally destroying the American people, they like him because he'll say the same ignorant, racist crap that they say. And they're proud of having somebody in the White House that'll say it. Because in their eyes, being racist isn't a bad thing. They're happy with it. It's like calling a Nazi a Nazi. Well, yeah, they openly say that. You're not going to shame them with that. Calling Hitler a racist, wouldn't shame him at all. Because he is. That's the entire basis of his ideology. And the same thing with a lot of these Americans who support Trump. That's what they are, and they know that's what they are. They know they hate Mexicans. They know they hate black people. They know they hate everything. And they've always known that. They don't hide it. They hate anything that's not white and Christian. And even some kinds of Christian aren't good enough for them. So think about that. The question that a lot of us third worldists want to know is what's going to be the tipping point that's going to cause the American people to rebel. And as it stands right now, the guy who's probably done, comparable amount of damage to, say, Nixon or Reagan is getting away with it. Even Nixon and Reagan became extremely unpopular around the end because of the damage that he did. But that's not the case with Trump. He's still getting away with it. And that's something that's really important that needs to be looked at here. He is, in a manner of speaking, Teflon man. He can be as racist, as horrible a human being, destroy people's lives as much as he wants, and nothing sticks to him. And I think that certainly says something about the very limited, I would say, very limited revolutionary potential in the First World. That even you take a good, huge portion of the population and they support themselves getting stabbed in the back because he's as much of an obnoxious creep as they are. And I think that really says something about the limited revolutionary potential that there is in the United States. That despite all of the anger, and rightfully so, anger against Obama, Trump can do so much worse and get away with it. And not only do people start to turn against Obama, they're liking Trump even more for it. And that's truly frightening. I know it's a cliche at this point, but you remember how people said, how could people have supported the Nazis? How could that have happened? And they didn't know what was going on. How could they have supported the guy that was so bad? You're looking at it right now. It's happening right now in front of us. And that's what we need to be worried about. Because at least when it happened in Canada with the election of Doug Ford, it's done a complete 180. And a lot of the people who supported him have ditched him because he's a piece of shit. But with the United States, that piece of shit keeps growing. He's getting stronger. He's getting bolder. And now that he doesn't have the Mueller report or the Mueller investigation hanging over his head, he's being even worse. The weight behind the crazy balloon has been cut. And maybe soon we're going to get the answer to that. What is it going to take for the American people to rebel? Where's that line? Because as things get worse, his supporters get more increasingly hardcore in their support for him. So whenever they get closer to the line, that line gets pushed. Now, sooner or later, they're going to catch up with that line. And the question is, how much damage is going to be done before that line is eventually reached?
Thank you for watching. If you like this program, then please head over to my Patreon page and set up a monthly donation. It's your donations that keep this program running. Also, if you would like, please rate, comment, subscribe, and share in various social media.